if we treat the people around us as if they probably are carrying a lot too, or their percentage battery might be running low and we just can't see it. It might help us be a kinder world if we treated others that way with that kind of awareness.
Welcome to the Lara Jane Layton Show. This podcast is for you, the person who keeps putting others first. Your self-talk has held you back. You no longer need to take a second seat. Let's explore ways to overcome self-doubt. You can silence that inner bully voice and achieve your full potential. Here's your host, Lara Jane.
Hello, friend. I have a new best friend with me, and her name is Susan. And we're going to talk about leading from within. And you're like, what's that? Well, that's what we're here to learn. And how do we have that power of that self-awareness so we get to know who we are, how much more powerful? And, I really like that command presence. When somebody knows who they are, you know it. They're not sheepish or shyish, or they just upfront. And I long to have that beautiful, I own this space. And you're good. Not that you can't pass through, but I own it. It's such a beautiful thing in so many wonderful women that I've met that have that. So I am going to let Susan teach us about that leading from within and how it radiates everywhere. Susan,
Right.
help us.
Absolutely, Laura Jane. So I'm so just privileged to be sitting with you today and just talking with a good friend and wanting to help you think through how we can all cultivate this superpower of being able to be self-aware and what that can look like for us. For me, it came from a place of kind of going in the wrong direction and under a lot of pressure and trying to figure out what were the things that were triggering that in my life and causing me to feel the way I was feeling, and how do I take control and how do I find the steering wheel again? And for me, it had to do with increasing my self-awareness. And so, like I said, I think anyone can really cultivate or grow in that area of how do we think about ourselves, and then how do we take where we're strong and where we're weak, and maybe the values and emotions that we have as well. Like, how do we take stock of those things and increase our own self-awareness in ways that can really impact our lives?
You know what that makes me think of is I've been me for 40 plus years. How come I don't know me?
Hmm. A great question. And sometimes it's because we're so busy taking care of everyone around us and all the things that need to get done that we just miss out on really being able to think about, who am I? And also, I think I've been me for over 40 years too. And I think the me over 40 years has looked different throughout the decades of life and the pressures that I face. I'm in a place in life now where I have to think about my parents, and my parents are aging and they have medical needs, and I need to be thinking about, is that me? Do I take care of that? I've been married for a long time. I have to think about another person who lives in my house with me, and he changes too. And so how does that self-awareness really impact that? And so honestly, self-awareness allows us to keep in tune with the ever-changing self that we're managing every day, and all of the things around us that are really leaning on us heavily for us to be as women. I think a lot of times we are in charge of a lot of things. And so to be able to manage all the things, I got to know the control system that controls the person who's managing those things. And so for me, that's a part of getting the read and the self-awareness that I need.
Well, as you were talking through that, I was thinking, well, you're right. I had a kid hat on for a while. Then I had a teenager hat on for a while. And we do learn and we grow. And every day we're a new me because we had new experiences that now frame some new thoughts. And with that kid hat on, we're so taught how to behave, how to think, how to do all these things in our lives. So you do need that time to process back to, it's what I was told. What do I really feel is right for me? And what might be my wrong path is somebody else's right path. It just doesn't feel right for me and where I'm going. And so there's not a wrong path, other than it's wrong for me. And how do I find that? How do I know if it's right or if it's working? Let's try not to do right, wrong. I was like, because that kind of hurts. So is it working? Is it the path that's getting me to where I want to go? If
Right.
not, then let's get on the other path.
Yeah, I think you're asking the right question, right? So you're asking the question, is this getting me where I want to go? And so, I think as we really think about that, we can maybe identify some of the behaviors that might be limiting us. Maybe I'm getting where I want to go, but I'm going 30 miles an hour in a 55-mile-an-hour zone, right? I'm not going as quickly as I could be going. So what's limiting my car? What's limiting me and my ability to go a little faster and get where I'm going? Now, I think, again, as women, we tend to already be going 55 miles an hour.
No, I was
With our,
going 80.
yeah, with 10 other things going on at the same time. But I know for me, it wasn't intentional. I was maybe self sabotaging. I was doing some things that on their own might not be a bad thing, but were really limiting my ability to be successful. And take care of myself. I mean, it's more than just accolades and success or titles or achievement. It was about, at the end of the day, am I healthy? Am I being able to love other people and be loved? Can I accept love? Am I able to take care of the people that I love and do the things that I love to do? And the answer for me at that point, in that moment of my life where I really began to go on a self awareness journey, the answer was no, I wasn't living the full life. I wasn't doing all the things I wanted to be doing. And it wasn't so I could do more. It's so that I could decide what is best to do. Right. And so as I thought about it, I had to admit to myself that it was okay to not know the answer. Whether it's, to your point, whether it's your kids asking your spouse, somebody at work, wherever, but the ability to say, I actually don't know the answer to that. And I think the best thing we can do is say, I'll either figure it out or let me point you to the expert or I'll show you how to use Google. But like pointing someone to here's how you could get the answer, but I don't have it. But it takes some vulnerability for us to be able to say, I don't know. And so part of the self awareness train that I'm on is it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to say, I don't know. The other thing that, and I know, you and I have this in common. I've read in your background that workaholism was part of my life. I was overworking and trying to outwork the people around me because I was afraid of being found out. I had imposter syndrome. I thought if I don't work harder than the next person, or if I don't overwork, someone will find out that I'm not as smart as I want them to think I am, or I'm not as much or as good or whatever, you fill in the blank, right? And it doesn't even have to be work; it could be home. I'm not getting all the laundry done and the dinner on the table, and maybe dinner's fast food instead of something more nutritional. All of those kinds of things come into play. But also just trying to overcome always thinking I'm the underdog, right? Or maybe I'm the lesser in the circumstance. And so for me, the patterns of self awareness is really looking at where am I falling short or where am I sabotaging myself, and then how do I overcome that, right? How do I find solutions so that I'm not limiting myself in ways, and I could be living a fuller life. I could be spending more time with the people I love. I could be making decisions for my future that are very positive.
And all of those are good things to overcome. But a lot of us are like deer in the headlight, like, I don't know what step to take. And I kind of sometimes attribute it to going to college.
Hmm.
You may sign up for that first day and you go, I don't know if I want to be an MBA or BS of whatever, computer science or a BA of art. I don't know. But what's my first step? I know I want to go somewhere. And it's like this one class, this English 101 or one, yeah, is going to match for all of them. I can take that step.
Yeah.
And if we can identify one step we can take closer to I think this is my goal, you will be closer even if you change goals.
Hmm.
And sometimes we don't know what it's going to feel like until we've got closer to the goal. And you would go like, oh my God, I thought I wanted to be a mathematician and I hate this. I think I'll go be an engineer instead. And you have those same things. You have something, you have a passion, but you feel like, oh, that's not going to work. I now know enough about it that I can sidestep my goal, take advantage of all the steps I've taken. I'm closer to my new goal than I would have been. And I think we can do that with all of our things in life, not just college.
That's right. I agree with that. I think, like you're saying, just honestly, a lot of times it's picking up your foot and taking a step. That's the next right thing. Right. And so, for me, it was finding a trusted voice, and that could be a friend. If you have a mentor you trust, it could be any number of people in your life. I was lucky to have a coach that I was able to work with and have those conversations with, that was my trusted voice. But honestly, any trusted voice that you have in your life, to be able to say, how might you help me think through what my limiting behaviors might be? How am I getting in my own way is a really, I think, basic way to ask that, or even to think like, what's your ideal self? Like if I stop and I think, what's my ideal Monday? And I'm able to just think, just that one step of thinking, what would it look like if Mondays were better? What's one small step I can take that would make next Monday better? That's one way to look at this idea of self-awareness, of how can I be aware of what challenges might be out there? And then to your point, it's exactly right. How do I pick up my foot and take the first step toward making it better?
Yeah, I like that it's okay to change your goals, because I don't know all the experiences I'm going to go through in the next 10 years if I
Sure.
live that long, uh, hopefully. But I change. It's same with our children, same with our spouses, they change.
Mhm.
Are we changing together or apart? And either's fine. It's okay. We need to get rid of the divorce stigma where, oh darn, I was divorced, I was a failure. No, you you got through some things that you got to learn from, and you get to do it again if you want or not. We get to be in their driver's seat. We get to choose. I'm putting a brake on this and I'm turning. And
Mhm.
that's good. Go. Because you now have more self-discovery done.
Right. I mean, and again, not to just oversell this idea of self-awareness, but again, we continue to grow, we continue to change, and our circumstances are going to continue to change. And like I said, I'm in a spot. They talk about, if you're in your mid 40s, you may be what they call the sandwich generation, where you're taking care of people ahead of you, but you're also taking care of people who are behind you. And this idea that you're sandwiched in the middle. And if that's you and you're in that situation, we have to increasingly be aware of, how is this impacting me? We don't want to be selfish humans, but at the same time, we have to take care of ourselves, or guess what? You can't take care of the people that are ahead of you or behind you. And so we definitely, have to be aware of ourselves and our surroundings and the demands on our schedule, all of those things. And like you said, circumstances are going to continue to change, and we're going to continue to grow and change. And so self-awareness is only going to help us as we think about how we want to continue to be better. And sometimes self awareness leads us to say, I actually want to take on less so that I can live more. And that's okay too.
You know, it's a freeing a time when you can take on less to live more. But there's a time in our life where we got to not live so that we can live later. And I know that sounds awful, but when you're in that income building mode and you don't have that retirement nest egg, where do we find that balance? And that's why I say find that one non-negotiable. I will always leave the office at 5 on Wednesday for this thing for me.
Mm.
Non-negotiable. Now, of course, you can move it, but don't give it up. I mean, there's times when my mom's in the hospital, I got to give it up. No,
Sure.
I get to move it. So,
That's a great point. Yeah. So those non negotiable things that are those fixed things, right?
Mhm.
that are going to be a part of the schedule. And if it needs to be moved around, that's okay, but we're still hanging on to it in the schedule.
It
Right.
is not getting deleted.
Mhm.
I remember times when I'd make that and I didn't follow through with it. Finally, it's like, take it off the darn calendar. Because it's never gonna. And then it's like, no, no. If you've got to fill up the gas tank. If you don't stop at that gas station that time every week, you're not making it through the week again. And so it's same for you. You might be able to put it off a day, but you've got to fill up your gas tank. Got to fill up what you've got to, so that you can be aware. And one of my guests once said, you can take that automobile and you can say, oh, the gas mileage is 28 miles a gallon. This is great. Well, I'm going to put a trailer on it and I'm going to put this luggage in it and I'm going to make sure that that bad mood I had with my husband and my kids and everything else is going to come along with me. You're not, when you fill up that trailer and you pull that stuff with you, you're not going 28 miles a gallon anymore. You're going 15 or 12. And so realize also those things that we're holding on to from our past.
Mhm.
Because being totally self-aware is being aware that I'm holding on to something that is no longer needed. And I can free that up and I can move faster through life.
Absolutely. I think another analogy that people will definitely be able to relate to, I don't know, I don't pull as many trailers as I did maybe in my younger years, but if you think about your cell phone battery, everybody,
Mhm.
I mean, who doesn't have a smartphone? Most people do. But you charge that thing up overnight, you get up in the morning with 100% battery, hopefully, right? If you did it right, you wake up with a full battery. But depending on how many apps you have running in the background, and how much Wi-Fi you're connected to, and all the things that pull on that battery, you may or may not make it to the end of the day without having to charge the battery again. And so, we have little indicators on the phone that say this is the percentage of battery you have before this dies. Well, sometimes I wish I had one of those indicators on me. Where someone could see how much percentage of battery I have
It's like,
remaining
hey, Susan,
before
go
I need to lay
charge.
down. Yeah, exactly. And so instead, though, I have to be self aware and know, am I going to need to power down for a little bit today? Does my lunch need to be a quiet one by myself somewhere to recharge my battery? And I have to think about how do I give myself enough inputs so that I can keep putting out what I need to put out to take care of the people in my life during the day. So to your point, it's very similar to the gas tank analogy
Right.
with all the things pulling on the truck. But I think a today analogy might be our cell phones.
I
And
like it.
again, I've said to my husband more than one occasion, kind of wish I had a battery indicator right here. He's been with me long enough to be able to pretty much read my battery indicator. But it also would be helpful for us because sometimes it's hard to know, or sometimes we're tempted to ignore that we're on 10% battery.
For me, I know I start getting snappier
Oh,
when I'm
sure.
on that 10%. And so if I can start realizing and being self-aware of my clues, I kind of have an indicator. Doesn't tell me exactly how many hours I got before someone's getting yelled at, but I
Sure.
definitely know it's getting close and it's time to charge.
That's good self awareness. Yeah, that's good.
But I think we all, if we just reflect on it, like, oh, I was feeling drained. I had to take a break. What were those feelings? That's part of being self aware. What are those feelings? What is it? If all of a sudden you just don't feel like seeing anybody, of course, as an interviewer, I do that a lot, but it's a signal. You know,
Mm.
a friend of mine has a shirt, uh, too much peopling, stay away.
Yeah.
I
Sometimes
know,
those labels sometimes those labels are helpful.
I don't, but I wouldn't be that way all day, so I couldn't wear the shirt. But if we had that marquee on our head, low battery, watch out.
That's right, that's right. Too many screens running in the background today. And that's right, too many things for our attention, that would be helpful. But I think it's helpful too if we just treat other people as if we know they must have lots of things going on in life. I think sometimes we think we're guilty of thinking we're the only ones that have all the heavy burden. But if we treat the people around us as if they probably are carrying a lot too, or their percentage battery might be running low and we just can't see it, it might help us be a kinder world if we treated others that way with that kind of awareness. Something we say at work here a lot is the idea that self awareness leads to other awareness, meaning
Hmm.
start with yourself, really know yourself well. And if you have that great self awareness, you're going to be aware of the other people in a very powerful way. And so, if you think about it, that can be a first step to also taking better care of the people around you.
You go back to the Michael Jackson song, The Man in the Mirror.
That's right.
Because, yeah, you got to start with yourself. You know, we've talked a lot about self awareness and, that, taking care of that inside of us. But how does it help us in leadership? You talked about the sandwich person in life situation. Well, I'm sandwiched in my leadership role. As a senior leader, you have executive leaders above you and you have employees, and you are smashed between, I can't show up to work and I need you to do extra work today. And who is the person in the middle that gets all that? And
Mm,
so it's not just at home, but we're sandwiched in our employee event too. Even if you're the CEO, you have the board of directors that are up and over you. And so we're sandwiched there also.
mhm.
And being aware of when I need to step out, get some air is so critical at work also.
Absolutely, it is. That's in my work and in my life. I have been that sandwiched manager that you're talking about. So I've been that mid-level leader in the middle of an organization where I had the people above me and the people that reported to me that I was trying to take care of both sides, and they can be very demanding. And I think that is a lot of what led me to learning more about self-awareness and really trying to learn how to monitor myself better. Because I was trying to please a lot of masters and really try to keep a lot of things going, a lot of plates in the air spinning around, and trying not to let anything break. And that can be a really tough place to be. And so I think, yeah, knowing what are my gas gauges or what are my battery percentages can really help with that. And I think being able to not only, I talked about seeking feedback from people that you trust, but also being in relationships where hopefully you can be a bit vulnerable to say, hey, I need to step away. Or, hey, I can't, you said, I can't extrovert all day today. I can give you this much time. Or I can do this tomorrow for you. So that you're still delivering, but you're delivering in a way that honors the person you're working with, but also honors you and what energy you have left to give to it.
I like the little pie that, divides up your life. And I have so much of all these things. And we all have a different balance of what we need to keep our car running or our cell phone going. And
That's right.
it's how we spin all these parts of our lives. But I'd like to focus just a little bit more on leadership before we wrap up. So let's get a quick break from our sponsor. When we come back, let's talk about how the self awareness really empowers us as leaders in our organizations. So we'll be right back.
This podcast is sponsored by Lara Jane Coaching. You know you're ready to silence your inner bully voice. Let Lara Jane support you with coaching. To schedule an introduction call, go to larajanelayton.com.
All right, Susan, as leaders, I feel pulled in so many directions all the time and not known. I sit and I prioritize and I think about things, and I've got this on my family plate and this on my work plate and this on my friend's plate and community service and all those things I get to do. And I'm becoming more and more aware of myself. But how is being aware of myself going to help me as a leader? How does that empower my associates that I'm supposed to be an example for to move forward too?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And I think the way I would begin that is to go back to what I said earlier of the self awareness leads to other awareness. When we understand ourselves well, and we can begin to understand the people around us and kind of what makes them tick as well, and that leads to potentially stronger relationships, better trust. That kind of environment can really help people be more productive. If you feel like your environment is a safe environment to be in, psychologically as well as physically safe, then you have the ability to, be more effective in that kind of environment. I also think for the leader that has greater self awareness, it can be easier to make decisions. Because if you understand how you approach the decision making process and you understand, what's at play and what's at risk in a decision that you're trying to make, how to consider stakeholders and what they think in the decision, or not to consider stakeholders depending on what kind of decision you're trying to make. But I think it can also improve the decision making process. If I know myself and I know the inputs around me, then I'm going to do a better job of making decisions for me and for the organization.
So, how could our friend with us today take that first step to that self awareness?
Yeah. For me, it went back to a person named Robert Greenleaf. He's a researcher that founded the idea of servant leadership. And he coined the term a significant time ago. I think it was back in the 70s. And so when he coined that term, he talked about a number of characteristics like listening, healing, empathy. Number four is awareness. And I remember going through that list when I read that for the first time in one of my graduate programs. And I was kind of doing a self assessment of like, how well do I listen? Do I listen to respond, or do I listen to actually hear people? Healing. Am I even thinking about that when I think about the people I work with? Empathy. Can I walk a mile in their shoes? What does that look like? But number four being awareness and self awareness really stood out to me as something I hadn't really thought of because it felt selfish. And I just want to encourage the listeners today and for us to even think about self awareness is not selfish. It actually serves a greater purpose than yourself, and it can help you take really good care of other people. And so, foundationally, that's where I started, was just to go, how can I be more aware? What is it that I really want to achieve in my life? And if that is more peace, if that's an easier schedule at home, if that's a better way of taking care of all my responsibilities, whatever that goal is. And like you said, that goal is going to continue to change. But if I can think about what is that goal and how do I want to get there, and then what's impeding me from getting to that goal. And then if I'm not really sure, find that trusted voice in your life and talk to them and say, help me think through what's keeping me from this. And so just pick that one thing, right? It doesn't have to be solving every single thing that gets you to the goal. It can be really focusing on what's one thing that's keeping me from being able to achieve the thing that I really want to achieve.
Yeah, and I know you and I have both used coaches to help with that. Some people are lucky enough to have a trusted friend or family member. Um, However you do it, finding that person that really will listen and help guide you making your decisions, because it really needs to be you. Be who you are, or it's not going to feel right when you're done. And using that person to help support you in your journey. I think accountability partners are amazing. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this. Will you at least check up and make sure I am? Because,
Right.
we change. And if it's really important, it's okay if the next day you change your mind. You go, never mind, I'm not doing this. It's accountability, something else.
Sure.
So, Susan, even though all the information about you is already in the show notes, can you share with our friend how to get a hold of you, what you do, and any last minute words of wisdom you'd like to share?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd be honored to. So, I have the privilege of serving in a role with a wonderful organization that helped me. They were my coach first, and then I began a journey with them a number of years ago. It's called Strata Leadership, and you can find us at strataleadership.com. And I love LinkedIn. I love to connect with people, and so if something that we've shared today in our conversation really sparks something with you, I'd love to connect with you. And let's talk further about self awareness. That's just the tip of the iceberg. But when we begin to understand ourselves better, we can take care of our priorities and our people and all of the things that are kind of tugging on us. We're in a stage of life where we are more in demand and more easily reached than we have ever been before. And so I just want to encourage the listeners today that we got to take care of ourselves. And this is a great first step, is to really think about how can you take good care of yourself.
I love it. Take good care of yourself and be aware of your needs, because how do you know what to do to take care of you if you're not aware of what your needs are? Do I just need a hug? I remember sometimes coming home from work just exhausted, going, tonight's the night I just need to put my head on my husband's lap and have no noise anywhere. But it's just that grounding. And it doesn't have to, it could be your dog. It could be the sofa or your favorite couch. It doesn't have to be a dependent on anybody else, but having that, I know I need this, and feeling okay to ask. So take care of yourself this week and forever. Be aware of what's going on. I think is beautiful. Thank you, Susan, for joining us. It's been my pleasure to get to know you, to be best friends. And I just love it.
That's right.
So,
Thank
friend, you're welcome. Friend, Susan and I are not medical or mental licensed professionals. We are here for entertainment. People that have found our path. We've changed it a few times, but we're on that path to where we want to go right now. And if we can help smooth your path, we are here to support you in your journey. So stay tuned for the next episode.
Are you tired of waking up exhausted? You are not alone. If you're looking to take your life back, let's start with the simple step of adjusting your self-talk. Stay tuned for the next episode with your host, Lara Jane. Remember to follow the show so you don't miss the next simple step that you can use to feel more confident. And please leave an honest review.